Back in 2017, we engaged our continuum of care, the state continuum of care, which is a consortium of homeless nonprofit organization advocates and funders. And we worked with them to help us better structure our programs to fund organizations that are providing services to individuals and families who are either homeless or at risk of facing homelessness.
From the beginning, as we began to design Home for Good, we knew we needed strong partners. We already had a strong relationship with each of the housing finance agencies, so it was a natural fit to reach out to them for help. The Delaware State Housing Authority was quick to agree and was already running a similar program. We combined the two and created the Home for Good product we have now.
So we were approached where the Federal Home Loan Bank of Pittsburgh wanted to contribute $700,000 to the work that we were doing. And they were really impressed by the infrastructure and the work that had happened in Delaware already, working with the different partners. So they liked the structure that we have, and they wanted to inject more money. So now we went from working with $500,000 to $1.2 million with the contribution, which is a good chunk of money considering the size of our state here in Delaware. So what that allowed us to do is take those two set-asides of rapid rehousing and homeless prevention, make them a little bit bigger and larger in terms of assistance that we can provide, but also, most importantly, create a set-aside for innovation.
The Delaware Continuum of Care passed in 2017 a plan to end homelessness in the state of Delaware. And one of the key provisions of that plan was to look at funding an eviction defense program to provide legal counsel to tenants facing evictions in Delaware. It was really perfect time, perfect partnership, because right after we passed that plan, the Federal Home Loan Bank of Pittsburgh came to us with the creation of this Homelessness Home for Good program, and they looked at our plan and they took some of the recommendations from that plan as some of the funding priorities for the Home for Good program, which ultimately one of the key programs was the Eviction Defense program, which was funded. The Delaware Continuum of Care, our mission is to end homelessness in Delaware. And with some of our members had brought the problem of the high number of evictions that are taking place every year in Delaware. And also the fact that most landlords, I think it's like 80%, actually have some kind of representation when they enter JP court. So a tenant that is coming in without any tools to try to defend themselves in an eviction is being faced with eviction with a landlord that actually has a legal counsel or some kind of representative with them at court. That's one part. The big other part is when someone is evicted, that stays with you forever. And that really is looked at as one of the key indicators of future homelessness. You have eviction, you're going to have a much harder time finding housing, and you're going to have a much greater chance of becoming homeless. So we felt like as the COC, it was our duty to try to create or to try to promote a program that provided that equal footing for the tenant when they are faced with eviction in Delaware courts.
this program means for Classy and our partner organization, the Legal Services Corporation of Delaware, is that we're able to represent families facing homelessness and in many cases prevent that homelessness. What's particularly powerful about this program is the combination of funding for both advocacy and a tenant assistance program. Through this program, we are able to both represent tenants in subsidized and public housing, as well as tenants in private landlord-tenant situations. Tenants in eviction cases in Delaware are at a serious disadvantage. According to a recent study by the Biden School of Public Policy at the University of Delaware, over 80% of landlords are represented either by an attorney or by what's called a Form 50 agent, which is perhaps unique to Delaware, where non-lawyers can represent landlords in court. Having an attorney by the tenant's side makes all the difference. Representation matters in these cases, and with the assistance of this program, we are able to represent tenants in court and change outcomes.
Another part of this program, which is extremely important, is the Tenant Assistance Fund. So this is a fund with money set aside to help tenants to pay when there is a small amount of money that will prevent the tenant from being evicted. In cases like this, our office, along with our partners, have been able to resolve a number of cases with a relatively small amount of money. Many of the cases have required no more than $1,000, but we have been able to resolve cases in amounts of $500 or less. Tenants in these cases sometimes will contribute, which is very powerful and helpful, but it's not required if they're unable to do so. Oftentimes, tenants are unable to participate in other programs that are available. So having a fund like this, in the long run, ends up helping them and prevents homelessness. So combined with both advocacy as well as having a tenant assistance fund is what has made this program so successful.
When we launched Home for Good in 2018 and we finally began reviewing the first set of applications, I remember being so excited to see the request for the Eviction Defense Program. It was exactly what we were hoping to see when we created the program. It was innovative, it created new partnerships, it filled a crucial gap in services, and it used prevention to combat housing insecurity in stabilized families. And since that initial application, we've been happy to continue to support the Eviction Defense Program as it has expanded its reach and continued to improve its effectiveness.
Before COVID-19, there were the issues of people facing eviction and being one paycheck away from facing eviction were very, very, very pressing issues in Delaware. COVID-19, thousands of people lost their jobs. They're unable to pay rent. Even though the JP courts are closed or slowly opening, many of those people will face eviction. And we want to make sure programs like the Eviction Defense Program are available to them, because that is no fault of their own did they lose their job due to COVID-19. That's not their fault. So we want to make sure that programs like providing legal representation to tenants are available.
Clients come to us in a state of crisis and are facing homelessness. It is incredibly gratifying and meaningful to be able to represent clients in that situation. And because of this program, with the collaboration of our agency, the Delaware State Housing Authority, we are able to make meaningful difference in our clients' lives and prevent them from facing incredible trauma and desperation.
I really and truly believe that there's no greater feeling than being able to work with people, to help people, and to be able to provide the programs and services that folks need in our state.
I'd like to thank all those involved in making Home for Good a success in Delaware. Anas Benadi and the Delaware State Housing Authority team, the Delaware Continuum of Care, our member financial institutions, and of course, the many service providers across the state.
We all know that it is less costly and damaging to avoid homelessness than try to rehouse a family or individual after they face homelessness. So this program, through the Eviction Prevention program and our partnership with Legal Aid and the Home for Good umbrella, does exactly that. If we can work with our partners and the families to make sure that they have a fair and decent shot to avoid eviction and stay housed, we don't just save resources that could have gone to rehousing or restabilizing the family, but we are really saving the family and the future of that family.